has been committed to choosing Napo as his running mate from the very, very beginning. And Kwame talks about whether this reflects on whether Bawumia is his own man or not. I will say that unfortunately, and I'm starting the sentence with unfortunately, it does reflect that Bawumia is his own man. He's making his own decision here. He's making his own bad decision. Unfortunately. Because yesterday's reporting, and that's the only bit of news I've caught in the past week, was that when the vice president presented his choice to the president gave his advice and his suggestions. And it was after those advice and suggestions that the president eventually accepted Napo. So, the person who we think is the puppet master behind Bawumia, even he wasn't able to change Bawumia's mind on this complete car crash of a choice. Even the puppet master, the so-called puppet master, couldn't change Bawumia's mind. Because Bawumia's mind has been made up a long time ago. And you see, if you know the vice president, you will understand his weakness. His weakness is for figures. And his understanding of figures. Yes. That's his weakness. And I'm not saying that he has... I'm not questioning his competence when it comes to economics. He is an economist, a competent one. I'm not questioning his ability to read a spreadsheet. His real weakness is when he tries to make numbers and politics align. That's his real weakness. And every single trap that he has fallen into in his career is because of this. Every single thing that has taken numbers and turned them into political rhetoric is now the albatross around his neck. And unfortunately, the process by which he has chosen Napo, or chose Napo, because I'm telling you, this choice was years in the making. In fact, Miracles said it months ago, that the president knew even, the vice president knew even before he became presidential candidate, who he would choose as running mate.
Wow.
Yeah. Because he's guided by his desire to make the numbers and the politics fit. So what are the numbers? The vice president has made two assumptions. One is completely correct, one is completely wrong. His first assumption is that the NPP has an uphill task of winning this coming election. The disaffection across the nation is widespread. So they have a very difficult job of winning the election. However, if the NPP wins more than 75% of the Asante region alone, they can stop counting the rest of the votes because they will win the election by all reasonable estimations. This assumption is correct. That's Dr. Bawumia's theory on which he's operating, and it is correct. Then he makes a second assumption, that the best way to win 75% or more of the Asante region is by having Napo as running mate. This assumption is entirely wrong. And I am not sure how he arrived at it. But it's wrong. It is wrong. Napo, hey, the minute this man is announced as vice president, shall candidate, we have to understand that the MPP is one comment away from losing the election. On any given day, they are just one disrespectful comment away from losing the election. One ethnocentric comment away from losing the election. One misguided, downright ignorant comment away from losing the election. because they've chosen Napo. I don't agree with lawyer who says that Napo rather is dirtying his hands by associating himself with Bawumia. No. Napo is the kind of personality who would dirty even Mother Teresa's hands. Because every time he's talking, you're scared. Every time he opens his mouth, you're worried about who he's going to offend. Because he has absolutely no sense of awareness of who he is in the grand scheme of things. He thinks he's the hero of all of our stories. And that we just wake up in the morning with the yearning desire to hear what nugget of wisdom will fall out of his mouth today. That's who he thinks he is in our lives. Only a person with such a God complex, such a misguided God complex, can tell children whose life outcome falls under your ministry, you can tell them that if you don't have toilet facilities, take a polythene bag, defecate in it, and throw it into the bush.
Vice President.
He wants to be Vice President.
We're expecting him Vice President.
But you have to ask yourself, where did he get the comfort from? I want you to put yourself in the shoes of someone who is saying this to students. And imagine, okay,
as a sector minister.
Yes, sector minister saying this to students. After you've taken your salary for the month to solve their problems, then you go to them and tell them, while you are saying that, I want you to close your eyes and picture, where do you gather the audacity to say it? Whatever the source of that self-inflation, it must be endless and uncontrollable. He cannot be a person in control of his utterances. He can't. To go and tell the people of Keta that if government budgets to stop your town from flooding, you will go and demonstrate in Kumasi against it. Now you want to be their vice president. I'm sorry, but in order for you to even have that desire, you must be convinced that the people of Keta are of no consequence. Yeah, otherwise at this point you would know that you can't possibly be their vice president. But he doesn't care. Their existence matters a lot to him. That's why he's able to put himself up to be their vice president. Because he actually doesn't think he will be their vice president.
It's a tricky business.
So no, I'm sorry, but this is a decision which is basically car crash TV. From now on, we are all just going to be waking up, switching on the TV to see how is Napo going to screw the MPP today. From now to the election, this is what we are going to do. And if by some gods of Donald Trump, these people end up winning, and Napo becomes our vice president,
as I speak to you now, I'm a member of parliament. I have not had the opportunity to discuss this with anybody, let alone the presidential candidate. And if it's the case that presidential candidate is consulting, I would think that he will also want to consult his parliamentary group, because we are his generals going to battle, and you cannot neglect your generals and be talking to the men on the field. And I'm not sure that is a strategy the presidential candidate want to adopt, because we are fronting his campaign. Whether good or not, the determinant of our success or otherwise depends on the efforts that we put in. So if Vice President is just talking to members of parliament and talking to people in the precincts, I think that it wouldn't be a good strategy.
But is this name running around from the circles of you, the majority caucus, as supposedly an accepted one?
I will not say anybody has been accepted. We don't accept candidates in the media. we accept candidates in the National Council meeting when a nominee has appeared before, or the presidential candidate has nominated somebody, and we decide on that person. So for now, whatever is in the media is for consumption of people who rely on the media. But me, as a party person, I will be very constitutional in this approach, and I will want to listen to the party speak through the National Council.
Will he be a preferred choice for the majority?
That if it was for me to choose, I would choose him. Why? He's not my preference. Me.
He's not your preference?
Yes.
Dr. Matthew Poku Prempeh is...
Apia Kubi is saying that he is not my preference. But that doesn't mean that he is not qualified.
Do you have a preference?
Well, if there was an opportunity like that, I would express a candidate, however acceptable or otherwise, to our presidential candidate.
What candidate
I would want somebody. I would want somebody who will be open with the people on the ground, who will be able to deliver the votes, and who would also submit to the presidency, and who will also be important in bringing parliament closer to executive. I would probably select somebody who is more acceptable by the generals going to the war, the parliamentarians. We should find somebody who, if the presidential candidate is not there, he will hold the hand of a member of parliament and go and conduct campaign in that member of parliament's constituency. I don't see that happening in this equation.